John Sutherland, a rock journalist, and we're here today visiting with Tony MacAlpine, who's just recorded 4 original songs for this video. Spend some time with us as we explore his guitar technique. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing fine, John. Having a good time today, and very excited about discussing the different techniques that I use on the guitar. And before we get started, why don't we tune up?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. We'll start with the E string. A. D. G. B. E. John, this tune's called Sammy Bone Shuffle.
I want to ask where you got the name.
Well, my bass player's daughter,
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, so we'd write a song about her and dedicate it to her, and it's kind of a fun jam, up-tempo thing, and basically Larry and I are playing a lot of the same unison lines together, and you'll notice the hammering type of bass line thing that I'm doing with the guitar. It's kind of a cool
Let's check it out.
Yeah, sounds cool.
That's a rockin' tune to start with. I enjoyed a lot of that song. There's one thing that I wanted to ask you about the unison slapping that you're doing with Larry, the bass player. That really interesting technique. And what do you do with a pick when you're using your thumb?
If I'm lucky enough, you know, I can get the pick between my finger here, the joint, and the tip of my finger. And when I'm holding it in there, I'm tapping the notes. I'm tapping four notes, you know, hammering them on and pulling up, just like a bass player would. Creates like a really funky kind of, you know, grooving sound. You can actually move that around the neck, you know, and you can use that into any type of pattern that you really like.
That's a long way from the speed picking technique that you have mastered.
Well,
you show us some of your tricks?
Yeah, I think what happens is, you know, as you play more and more and you start to experience more things in life, you start to, you know, your appetite musically starts to expand. And I think basically that's a point in which we're, you know, the road in which this new band is traveling to.
How did you develop your right hand to do some of the faster arpeggios that you do, particularly in this song?
You know, I was really into a lot of the repetitive, you know, picking patterns. A lot of the picking patterns where you'd really get involved with the pick and playing 3 notes on the string. And for instance, an exercise. That requires just a lot of alternate picking and perfect timing. If you're in a position where your pick is not in contact with the string at the same time the finger, you know, comes down, you get a lot of string noise, and you really don't want that to happen.
How do you hold your pick, Tony? I mean,
I just go for really a comfortable position.
Okay, that's comfortable to you. It
That's
looks like a
comfortable
lot of it's back inside your hand.
Yeah, I tell a lot of students that, you know, that I work with, and when I do master classes in clinic, just to be comfortable with you know, with your style, and don't try to copy, you know, somebody's certain pick style, but just hold it in a manner in which you're really comfortable with.
Well, I'm watching your hand. It looks like it's hardly even moving. It's just such an economy of motion.
Well, you know, I believe in a lot of in the fact that too much motion is wasted energy, and a lot of times when I'm picking each of the notes, you know, with a lot of aggression, and I want that heavy pick sound, there's a way to achieve that with just an equal balance of muting the wrist here and a lot of tapping with the hand, and rolling on some of the notes that you happen not to be picking. For instance, if I'm coming into a run and I'd like to I'll just pick the top string here. I'll pick all the rest of them to get up here. I'm taking D, F, G, A, and B flat here, and I'm just hammering on the okay, in an inverted pattern under that, I'll pick the A and the B flat and hammer on the F and D. You can carry that pattern really all over the neck. Sometimes I do it in a slightly arpeggiated form, you know, down here with the first 3 strings, the E, A, and the D string. And I'll play like the C sharp, hammering on the C sharp minor triad, which is C sharp, E, and G sharp. It sounds like I'm picking a lot of the notes.
Use that in a lot of your songs. There's one passage in this song I noticed the sweeping arpeggios.
Oh yeah, the broken chord. Yeah, those particular chords that we're playing, that you heard the arpeggios, I'm playing a B, A, and a D and an E chord, and I'm playing them in this fashion where I play the A major, slide up to the D major, and the E major. So it's a cool little pattern. I like to. I really made that kind of smooth by taking it all over the neck. Making an exercise of it. Sliding the index finger up.
I notice at the end of that sweep that you're tapping the last note of each phrase. Where are you going with that?
Well, I use the finger to have an extended minor scale. In this pattern, I'm playing a C minor arpeggio here. I can take it in any direction really that I want within the minor scale pattern. That would be C, that's D, and E flat. You can slide your finger too to get different types of like bowed sounds. Also, I try to get away from that a little bit to break up the tone and.
You mean you go back and forth between the two different styles?
Exactly, and I'll incorporate the muffling and the economy picking again, just picking the top part of the run and hammering on the rest. Maybe employing the scale idea that we were talking about when we were.
Gives you a lot of freedom, so you
It
can
gives me freedom, yeah, so that I'm not really too concerned with where the position of pick is, because I don't want to be in a pattern where I take the pick away from the strings and I don't have the strength in my right hand to keep the soloing ideas together. So the technique should just be a tool, to utilize so you can express your musical ideas. So leaning. It's basically just a lot of weight.
I've noticed one of the things about your playing, Tony, is that a lot of times people try to copy things exactly without understanding the concept. It's much more important to understand the concept of what you're trying to achieve. And that is probably what gives you the freedom that you have on the guitar when you can go so many different places with your ideas.
Exactly. I mean, for instance, there's a million different ways to play arpeggiated ideas. I try to do that a lot. Instead of just playing the triads, I play like sevens, major seven arpeggios, where an example C major seven, I'll have a C, E, G, and B, and I'll have a synthesized type of effect happening. Instead of just a raking, sweeping motion, I'll have more of a that's basically just C major seven. 7 being there and the octave being here.
It's a much more musical way to look at how the notes are put together.
Exactly. It gives me a lot of continuity with the instrument. It highlights my solos in different ways. That particular pattern, too, I'm utilizing a lot of pentatonic scales also, which is evident in the Sammy Bone Shuffle.
Yeah, it's part of the core of the song.
Yeah, instead of concentrating too much with the ideas of, the arpeggios, I build a lot of the function of the song, the mechanics of it around the pentatonic scale. The song's an F sharp minor, so we're starting with. So I've learned to rake the arpeggio in a pentatonic type fashion. Just really, your fingers are just fluttering along the. Pentatonic.
Did you encourage other players to when they compose, to use as many diverse ideas as you've used in this song? I mean, you started out with a funky little groove, and you had the major sweeps. There's a lot to this song.
Yeah, well, I think it's very important when you're playing music to surround yourself with a very strong core of musicians. And, with the drummer that I have, Mike Tirana, and the bass player Larry Dennison. These guys are very much into the exploration of trying different ideas and not getting locked into just one particular way to do things. And I think that's where where our strength lies.
I noticed when you guys were taping these songs that you did 3 or 4 takes of each song, and every time the song was markedly different.
Well, that's because I'm not too interested in working out a lot of the the ideas that I'm trying to put down. I'm more involved in where playing from the heart comes from, and I think that can only be done with just the practice, just improvisation.
I was going to ask you about that because there's a solo you do at the end of this video that was the last thing you taped today, and it makes me wonder how much improvising do you do when you're soloing? Do you have a plan, or where do you go?
Oh,
with it?
definitely.
This just like basic overall theory. You're not the notes and the technical part.
Well, I get a lot of feeling from the chords of music, just from the the basic. I like to play around the strongest parts of the chords, which to me is a lot of times first 5 notes. And it builds around the the triads in the chords. And I definitely use a lot of vibrato in the techniques, because a lot of these different ideas that we do would come off sounding really cold if they didn't have that singer type tone.
Well, I would like to say it's a lyrical sounding, a way to play guitar.
Exactly. I need to have the guitar speak to me in certain ways, because it's just wood and steel, and if it's not, if it doesn't have that.
It's wood and steel and fingers and skin and bone too. I mean,
Exactly.
everybody can make the same guitar sound different.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very true.
Tony, let's take a look and listen to the next song, sweeping romantic ballad. What should we look for?
Well, John, I've always been very fascinated with those type of songs. Ever since I think I really took a serious, in-depth look at it on the Maximum Security album with a song called "Tears of Sahara," and again on this new album, "Freedom to Fly," we have a song called "The Champion."
Very emotional playing on both songs.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Well, this particular song, we have the space of the actual trio here. I just thought that this was a very sad type of haunting little melody. I just feel that a lot of those different shades that you can get in music, you can achieve them, in different ways, instead of in just the intensity of the way that you play a passage or the the type of notes that you play. Just the most simple things, to me sometimes have a lot of feeling.
Let's check it out. Tony, I really enjoyed the hammer-ons you used to carry the melody. Could you show us a little bit more of that and
Well,
how you developed that?
You know, John, the playing without the pick attack creates a very smooth tone, and I think a song like a particular ballad, you know, that we have here, "Broken Dreams," it lends itself to that particular type of technique. For an example here, if we take an F sharp minor scale on the same string. We play that in groups of 3 notes at a time, starting with the A, a third above the highest F sharp. We get a very bell-like sound. Yeah. It's a very interesting idea. I can carry that in different keys, you know. And as I hold down these particular notes, my left hand is particularly involved with creating different chord tones, you know. So that's where I utilize the bar to enhance the vibrato. I really like the smoothness of the hammer-on ideas. It's very evident in the solo of the song. I think the progression shifts to A minor, and I start really playing on the open without the pick at all. Just for a lot of arm weight, you can achieve that smooth tone.
There was some bending, where you were just taking the note a little bit farther than it is when it's inside the fret as it normally belongs to.
Exactly.
Can you show me, some of the technique you use to change the pitch of the notes when you're...
Yeah, a lot of times I'll take the actual... It creates again that bowed, that bowed effect instead of actually bending to the next note. Just it's a very hammered.
It's more modern sounding.
Yeah, it's a smoother, sweeping. That's the same idea, but slurring the other way, in the opposite direction.
When you were playing the core of the melody, I noticed that you were dragging the hammer on. It made it flow really, really nicely.
Right, actually. Because the song is a ballad, a lot of the melodies have to be played with a lot of feeling, a lot of passion in them. And if
you're just grabbing the note staccato, it's not going to have the same.
Exactly, and that's why when I tend to play with a hammered-on pattern, I notice that my hand is moving in more of a fashion this way instead of up and down, because the pick is no longer being employed as a sound device. Now the actual technique of pulling off to each finger is going to generate the tone. For instance, I can play an A minor all over the neck with this type of pattern instead of just playing an A minor scale in one box figure. I'll utilize that movement.
In previous interview situations we've talked before, one of the things you've pointed out to me is you don't like to be boxed in. You don't like to be caught in a trap where you're in one place and there's only one way out.
Right, right. Precisely.
Did you utilize that at all in this song, where you could have gone several different ways in the same place?
Well, you know, it happened, and it happens when we do multiple takes of things, especially on records, and especially, you know, in an environment where you're doing in a video, because you want to develop the sense of, you know, the feeling that you can really go a place where your mind, you know, where your mind is and your hands are just the tools to get you there.
Because I've always thought, Tony, that the greatest skill as a musician is completely free and can go wherever his brain wants to take him with, you know, masterment of an instrument.
It is. It is the dangerous part about practicing too many, you know, ideas which are could stagnate your creativity, is that you have to learn how to apply them in different, you know, facets. For instance, like this hammer-on idea that we're talking about in the key of A minor. Go ahead and, you know, stretch it to the key of A major, and you know, things like that, just by, you know, raising your third tone in the A minor scale, A major. The sixth and seventh tones get raised also. So now I'm playing the same idea where I was moving my hands around the neck, but I'm doing it now in major keys.
Do you consciously think when you're playing of what it would sound like if you played a melody in one part of the neck as compared to another?
Yeah, yes.
Do you incorporate that into?
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes, you know, if I'm in a pattern where I'm involved in playing a particular melody in a song, and because this is instrumental music, there's no break from actually playing the actual, you know, the lead tones. If I'm involved with you know, the task of playing a particular melody, and I'd like to you know, highlight it with certain little leads, I won't try not to develop an idea or habit where I have to play it in one pattern. For instance, the bridge part of Broken Dreams, where it's, I might do some licks around that, you know. Instead of having to go. Play that pattern over there. So definitely, I definitely encourage people to try to practice as many ideas all around the neck, you know, and yeah, try to get used to creating a whole sweet spot, you know, where the whole guitar is, you know, a friendly place for you to be.
Tony, in the bridge, there's some harmonic thirds. How do you know which notes to pick?
Well, I'm following the harmonic structure of the minor chord, or the major chord if I happen to be playing in a major chord. This particular song, you know, for example, is a minor, and each scale has its own tonality, which you'd have to adhere to. You know, the F sharp minor, the first third is a minor chord, F sharp and A. The next third in G sharp is major. The next one is major, major. Each of them are broken chords. So like Eddie Van Halen when he... I tend to also use my ear and go by how I feel it should sound.
So the next song is More Than a Lot. There's a lot in this song. We'll get into it later, but let's hear the song first. Very interesting. There's a lot there to think about. I enjoyed the counterpoint, and also the solo sounded really interesting to me. What's the...
Well, the difference in the solo in that particular song is it's a major key.
Right.
It's a lot fresher, lot cleaner. I like to think, of an idea. It's less dark because of the raised third is in 6th and 7th tone in the major scale, as opposed to those being flatted in the minor scale, which creates a darker image. And I wanted the solo to actually go to a certain place. Instead of being dark, and heavy, I wanted to actually have a certain type of contrast, with the song.
Tony, you mentioned chord suspension. Do you think that's something young players should pursue more than you?
I think so. It's one of the things I always stress with some of my students is playing rhythm ideas, a rhythm structure, and then continually hearing that in your head while you play a lead over the alternating chords. In other words, an example of that would be to start with like an E chord, and by chromatically going up at least, let's say, four different frets. We'll address the harmonic structure of each of those chords in our soloing without losing the rhythmic aspect of what we're trying to do. The continually the E drone, it sort of permeates over the whole progression. Yeah, that's in this particular song more than enough. That's exactly what we got going on here in the solo section. Even with the idea. With the pentatonics, I'm doing the same thing. I like to think I'm like superimposing different chords over other chords. This, in essence, would be like a. If you think of that, it would be a C sharp minor pentatonic run. But over E major, it's very major sounding.
In essence, what you're saying with those chord suspensions, that you're creating some tension.
Exactly, and I like to try to include that in my soloing, especially with the arpeggiated ideas. I believe at the end of the solo in this particular song, I went outside of the actual E major, feel by stretching all the way up to F sharp. I kind of like the ideas too that the when you're bending a certain note, you get that 3 chord, you get that 3 chord feeling, you get that third tone in there. It's another idea on that.
Another of the little nuances I noticed, Tony, is you're sliding backwards as you're playing some of the notes in the melody. Can you show us some of that?
Yeah. I think I derived that technique from listening to a lot of the early blues stuff that I used to listen to, the Johnny Winter stuff, and just creating more of a backwards bend. That melody, it's very it's a very fresh type of different way, I think, in terms of instead of coming under the note, come from the top of the note. I do that a lot too, at the end of particular runs that I might play. Just,
it adds a real different feel to them.
Yeah, it adds a different type of dimension to what you're trying to express.
Well, that kind of takes us in the direction of the next song. Baloney Pony Blues, is that what we're going to call it?
I think that's what it's called. Don't ask me what that's all about.
Can we check that one out?
Let's take a listen to that.
Well, that was fun. You know,
Thanks, John.
wandering off into the blues direction for a while there. There were some very interesting things that we'd like to bring up. I find blues a very emotional style of music with a lot of room. And here you spent some time working with intervals in an interesting way.
Yeah, I like to. I'm very fascinated, of course, with the pentatonic, ideas. It's very limitless, but I also like to employ the fresher, the aspect of the major and minor chords mixed in with the pentatonic scales. I think that type of style I was always into from listening to early Wes Montgomery stuff, and I tried to take it into a different direction by getting like almost like a pseudo jazz type effect.
You know, Tony, most people don't look at you as a blues player, and that may have been a little bit out of character. I know you've always been into it, but are there some ideas you can show us about playing blues guitar and where you're going with it?
Yeah, I don't just look at myself as a stylist in any one particular direction of music. I think of myself more as a musician, because of the background of playing classical and starting with a lot of blues, in the very beginning. I just really like what it does to the rock feel of the instrument music that I'm involved with playing these days. I really like the idea of oftentimes I'll sit home by myself or if I'm in between takes at a certain gig or something like that, or a clinic or whatever, I'll play by myself. Those type of chord ideas.
Well, there was a lot there. I mean, the sweeps, the bends.
Yeah, you see, I can employ these sweeps in a lot of different, way more than just, the A minor thing. You can really get into the pentatonic idea. It has a lot of soul, obviously, when you're playing blues, and if you can really get that into your your personality, I think your music will speak a lot more. It'll have a lot more clarity.
Do you think any differently when you're playing different styles of music? I'm curious.
To me, it comes from the same place. It's coming right from the heart. It always was. Even if going right back to my first record, Edge of Insanity, all that music was coming right from the heart. You go through different feelings, in life. Different things happen to you, and which is evident in the direction and the style of music that I'm into these days.
Tony, can you do me and a lot of other people a favor and slow some of those licks down and show them how they come apart?
When I played the C7, the dominant 7 chord. Started with the 6th here. Ended with flat 5. And again, as you see, my hand is doing a lot of the the sliding back and forth over the frets. It creates a lot of
Tony, you've showed us a lot of different sides of your player personality, a lot of great tips today. Aside from the technical things that you can show us, what is the best advice you can give a young guitar player coming up?
Well, John, dedication is the key factor. You really have to really be into what you're doing, and at all costs make certain sacrifices in your life to achieve that type of success. And I don't mean success monetarily or but just more spiritually, just being able to, attain the type of, accomplishments that you think that you can, you think that you should be, achieving. And as a very young person, I realized that I had to make sacrifices, and I sacrificed a lot of, playing with other kids and things like that, and hanging out for practice. And perfect practice makes perfect playing, and you have to be dedicated to those results.